You are at work, you're doing your best, but somehow nothing you do is ever good enough. Maybe it's some subtle digs from your boss, constantly shifting goalposts, or feeling like you have to prove yourself over and over again. Workplace bullying is real, and it doesn't just affect your job, it can push you into a circle of perfectionism that leads straight to burnout. So, today we're going to talk about workplace bullying and the toxic environments that create chronic stress. We're going to see how many people respond with perfectionistic coping mechanisms, which, of course, accelerate burnout. And also, we're going to see how to break this cycle. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Vassia, a psychologist, psychotherapist, and founder of Anti Loneliness. On this channel, I help high achievers and perfectionists break free from burnout, stress, and self doubt so that they can live a life with more joy, more peace, and more balance. Let's first define what workplace bullying looks like. First of all, it can be unfair criticism, unrealistic expectations, exclusion, or microaggressions, either from superiors or even from other team members. Being ignored, undermined, or constantly have to prove competence. Or it can look like gaslighting. And in case you don't know what gaslighting means, it means that you are being made to feel like you are overreacting, or that you are imagining things, or that your reality doesn't agree with the rest of the people's reality. For example, I remember James, he was working as an engineer, and he was constantly given last minute assignments. And then he was blamed that he couldn't meet impossible deadlines. The thing is that over time, he stopped pushing back and he internalized the idea that it was his fault. If he would get better, then he would handle it all. That belief drove him to working 50, 60 hours per week until, of course, his body gave up and he collapsed from exhaustion. The impact of bullying, workplace bullying on mental health is immense. We're talking about chronic stress. Your nervous system is constantly on fight or flight response. We're talking about self doubt and overworking. You start believing that it's your fault, that you are not perfect. You start believing that you need to be flawless in order to avoid criticism. And of course, you're working overtime without even thinking about it twice. And of course, we're talking about emotional exhaustion and burnout, constant, being constantly hypervigilant. That's something that can drain you mentally and physically. And is, of course, the perfectionist trap that gets in the way. This is where you think you're not enough, and then you're taking even more tasks in order to prove yourself. You're overanalyzing every email, every word, every presentation, every meeting, and you feel that every mistake could jeopardize your position. This is where we don't allow ourselves to make a mistake. In other words, we don't allow ourselves to be human. If you want to check whether you are experiencing any burnout, download the High Achievers Burnout list that you can find in the description. It covers 7 hidden signs of burnout that many perfectionists overlook. How is that related with our previous experiences? Many people who struggle with perfectionism and workplace bullying, it's not their first time. They have experienced bullying early in their life, and this is where they formulated this belief. If I will be perfect, nobody can hurt me. The previous experiences of bullying create so much pain and so much hurt, and of course, so much shame, that we never ever want to experience that kind of treatment again. And we figure out in our own minds as children that if I become perfect, I will not experience that pain ever again. So that criticism and that exclusion triggers that deep seated fear of rejection and failure that we don't want to experience again. I remember that Sarah, she was teased in school for her weird way of speaking. So she learned to rehearse everything she said in her head before speaking. And as an adult, that turned into her perfectionism. She was writing and rewriting reports endlessly, fearing that any mistake would make her unworthy again in her boss or in her colleagues' eyes. So, perfectionism becomes then a survival strategy that we have said before. It's a trauma response, in other words. If a child is being mocked or ridiculed, then they might overcompensate by trying to be flawless. Then they grow up believing that making mistakes means feeling unworthy, and this mindset follows them into adulthood, and especially in high pressure jobs. How do we break that cycle? First of all, how to heal perfectionism from the inside out? First of all, recognize the pattern. Acknowledge that this is my perfectionist speaking. And my perfectionist speaking is my survival mechanism, my coping mechanism. It's not me. It's not a personality trait. Start reframing mistakes as a part of growth. I am human. I don't need to be perfect. I have my own weaknesses and vulnerabilities and imperfections like everybody else, but it's not proof of failure. Shift from external validation to internal self acceptance, internal worth. We have talked about this before so many times in previous videos. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to or because I'm afraid of judgment and rejection? Check with yourself first and define success based on your own values, not on others' approval. That will never be unconditional. You will always meet people who reject you or people who like you one day and not like you the other day. And practice with staying with the discomfort of realizing your imperfection. Set good enough standards, not perfect standards, and intentionally make some small mistakes and notice that nothing bad will happen. So, how to navigate now workplace bullying and, of course, to prevent burnout? Set firm boundaries, first of all. Learn how to say no without over explaining. You don't need to explain yourself. If it's not possible for you to meet a project that you just delivered and people want it by the end of the week, then just say no without explaining how it is impossible. It's just impossible. Avoid taking on extra work just to prove yourself. Sometimes we self sabotage by volunteering and taking extra work. So avoid taking extra work. Document any workplace mistreatment. It's important that you keep record of any interaction or any incident that happens. And if needed, of course, escalate to HR or seek legal advice. Find your tribe, find supportive colleagues. Workplace toxicity, of course, is isolating, and you might feel that you cannot speak to anyone, but build a network of allies that maybe have experienced the same with you or they are on your side. And if possible, seek mentorship or, again, external career support. And if this is a toxic culture that has spread in the whole company, then prioritize your recovery time. We struggle as perfectionists with rest, so schedule breaks like their meetings. Put them intentionally into your agenda and recognize, of course, that overworking won't earn you any safety or approval. Perfectionism, remember, might have started as a way to protect yourself, but now it's holding you hostage. You deserve to exist in a workplace where you feel valued, where you feel appreciated without having to sacrifice your own mental and physical health. That's the standard from now on. And most importantly, you are enough as you are. People hired you because they thought that you are enough as you are. Another thing that I would like to share with you, a research shows that childhood bullying is linked to 40% higher chance of developing anxiety disorders in adulthood. And of course, perfectionists are more prone to experiencing imposter syndrome and anxiety as a result. So you are not alone in there. There is a lot of help for you, a lot of support for you. It only takes one step for you to realize and to recognize, first of all, that what you're experiencing is not okay and that you are already enough as you are and you deserve validation exactly as you are. Thank you for watching. I'm here for any questions you might have. Until next video, take really good care of yourself.